Horror movies can give a fright, but so can a good ghost story. Suspense is all about timing and gullibility, and if you can pull off both, you've got a hit. But what happens when the lines between fact and fiction start to blur? You often hear stories of people claiming that they've seen ghosts, aliens, and/or other supernatural beings. If you've turned on the local news, you've definitely heard about a grisly murder or two. Once in a while, a story of a dreadful disappearance, demonic possession, or town full of devil worshippers will land in the local news. Whether it's real or fiction, we often never find out. Maybe they're crazy, but maybe they're right, you be the judge. The Axe Murder House. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa is a well-known tourist attraction for ghost hunters and horror lovers alike. The site of a gruesome unsolved 1912 murder, in which 6 children and 2 adults had their skulls completely crushed by the axe of an unknown perpetrator, was purchased in 1994, restored to its 1912 condition, and converted into a tourist destination. It costs $428 a night to stay at the old haunted home, where visitors always report strange paranormal experiences, such as visions of a man with an axe roaming the halls or the faint screams of children. But in November of 2014, the haunting took a darker turn. Robert Stephen Larson Jr., 37, of Rhinelander, Wisconsin was on a regular recreational paranormal visit with friends when true horror struck. Per Vice. His companions found him stabbed in the chest, an apparently self-inflicted wound, called 911, and Larson was brought to a nearby hospital before being helicoptered to Creighton University Medical Center in Omaha. The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office said Larson suffered the self-inflicted injury at about 12:45 a.m., which is around the same time the 1912 axe murders in the house began. Larson recovered from his injuries, but has never spoken publicly about what occurred that day. For Martha Lynn, the owner of the home, the incident was very upsetting. It's publicity, but it's not exactly the kind of publicity you desire to have. I don't want people thinking that when they come to the Villisca Axe Murder House something's going to happen that's going to make them do something like that. The house remains open for tourist visits and overnight stays today. The Enfield Monster. In 1973, a man in Enfield, Illinois told reporters that he saw a weird little creature lurking in his yard. Per the M. Vernon Register News, resident Henry McDaniel stated, "It had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights." The police later found scratches on the door screen and footprints that looked like a dog's but with 6 toes. If they do find it, McDaniel said in the newspaper, they will find more than one and they won't be from this planet, I can tell you that. To this day, no explanation has ever been found. The Suicide Hotel. In Colombia, the Hotel del Salto has more stories as one of the most haunted places on Earth more than it does actual tenants. Turned into a museum, the hotel was designed by architect Carlos Arturo Tapias back in 1923, overlooking the Tequendama Falls. The views were said to be spectacular, but guests kept getting a little too close to the falls. Translated to Hotel of the Leap, the Hotel del Salto is full of stories of people leaping to their deaths. According to local legend, the indigenous Muisca tribe escaped from Spanish colonizers by leaping off the cliffs some centuries before. The death of Elsa Lam. Elsa Lam was last seen on January 31, 2013 in the lobby of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She was vacationing through the West Coast, documenting the trip on her blog, and checking in with her parents every day. On January 31 those calls stopped. Lam had vanished. Soon the police were involved and her parents arrived to help with the search, they had nothing. That February, LAPD released elevator surveillance footage of Lam before her disappearance. The footage shows Lam behaving strangely in the elevator, appearing to talk with invisible people, peering around the corner of the door, crouching in the corner, and opening and closing the door. But what exactly is going on in this video raises more questions than answers. Theories range from psychotic episodes, to demonic possession, to unknown assailants just out of the camera's view. Around that time, Hotel guests started reported weird things happening with the Cecil Hotel water supply. As CNN reports, "The shower was awful," said Sabina Baugh, who spent 8 days there during the investigation. "When you turned the tap on, the water was coming black first for 2 seconds and then it was going back to normal. The tap water tasted horrible," Baugh said. "It had a very funny, sweety, disgusting taste. It's a very strange taste. I can barely describe it. But for a week, they never complained. We never thought anything of it," she said. "We thought it was just the way it was here." On the morning of February 19, a hotel employee climbed to the roof and used a ladder to investigate the hotel's water storage tanks. That's where authorities found the decomposing, naked body of Lam, whose personal items were found nearby. After an autopsy, her death was labeled accidental. NBC Los Angeles reported at the time about the strange circumstances in the hotel's past. The tank has a metal latch that can be opened, but authorities said access to the roof is secured with an alarm and lock. The single-room occupancy hotel has an unusual history. Night stalker Richard Ramirez, who was found guilty of 14 slayings in the 1980s, lived on the 14th floor for several months in 1985. An international serial killer Jack Unterweger is suspected of murdering 3 prostitutes during the time he lived there in 1991. He killed himself in jail in 1994. In 1962, a female occupant jumped out of the hotel's windows, killing herself and a pedestrian on whom she landed. In February 2021, a Netflix doc called Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel explored Elisa's tragic case and the history of the cursed Cecil Hotel. The haunted doll. When you think of haunted dolls, it's likely the creepy old Victorian-looking porcelain kind that springs to mind. None of which you probably have laying around. Still, don't get too comfortable around any kids' toys too soon, though. A Disney's Frozen Elsa doll that was gifted for Christmas 2013 in the Houston area made headlines earlier this year when it seemingly became haunted. The doll recited phrases from the movie Frozen and sang, "Let It Go," when a button on its necklace was pressed. For 2 years it did that in English, Mother Emily Madonia said. In 2015, it started doing it alternating between Spanish and English. There wasn't a button that changed these, it was just random. The family has owned the doll for more than 6 years and never changed its batteries. The mother says the doll would randomly begin to speak and sing even with its switch turned off. The family decided to throw the creepy doll out in December of 2019. Weeks later, they found it inside a bench in their living room. The kids insisted they didn't put it there, and I believed them because they wouldn't have dug through the garbage outside, Madonia told KPRC2 Houston News. At that point, Elsa ceased to sing the English rendition of "Let It Go" altogether, speaking only Spanish when pressed. The family then double-bagged the bizarre doll and placed it at the bottom of their garbage, which was taken out on garbage day. They went on a trip shortly after, but when they returned, Elsa too had come back, and was waiting in the backyard of their home. This time, the family mailed Elsa to a family friend in Minnesota, who taped the haunted doll to the front bumper of his truck. It doesn't seem to have made its way back to Houston yet, as per Madonia's latest February Facebook update on the creepy doll.
Thank you. Please like and subscribe.